Hey logical people, GKV here. In our last video, we installed Next.js and launched our first app using command prompt. If you did not watch that video, I recommend you watch that before watching this video. Link is in the description and can also be found here and in the playlist. Now, moving on to this video. In this video, we will open our project in Visual Studio Code and understand the project's file and architecture. Let's get started.
All right. Hello and welcome back. So as you can see, I have opened my Visual Studio Code and yours should also look something like this. So the first thing that we would like to do is browse for our project. So how do we do that? It's super simple. We'll click on the files, navigate to open folder and click on it. And then you will try and look for the folder where you created your project. Okay. I'm going to go into TTS tutorial. One thing to notice is that you don't need to go inside your project folder. You just need to select that folder. Once you do that, VS Code will load everything for you. So on the left hand side, you can see that I have all the files in folder, and at the bottom, you also see a terminal window. If I can click on the cross, I can close that terminal window. And I can also again open it by clicking on terminal here and then click on new terminal. The beautiful part about this terminal window is that it is integrated to your working location, which means I can go and say npm run dev. What this will do is it's gonna spin up a local server for our project, and then I can actually go to localhost, and if I refresh the page, so this is where we left our project. You should also see something like this on your screen. And now before moving forward, let's go and try and understand the folder and file structure that has been provided to us via Next. So the first file that I would like to go on is tsconfig.json. This file is created for you and you technically don't have to change anything here. With this tsconfig.json file, our Next.js project understands that we're gonna write our files in .tsx file, not in .js file. And by doing that, we will be able to leverage the TypeScript. If you remember what TypeScript is, you can go to Google super quick. TypeScript is a JavaScript with syntax for types, which basically means that I can just say my class and dot, and I can see all the functions and parameter on that. Okay. Um, Moving to readme.md. Right now, we're not gonna change this, so we will not talk about this. Package.json is an important file. What this file contains, this file basically contains all the metadata about your project. For example, how to run the command, which all dependencies do we need in our project. Your dependency section might look little different than mine, but don't worry about it because I went ahead and installed Bootstrap, installed Firebase, installed MD5 basically. But in your project you should see this at least. Also, don't worry about the versions because by the time of recording this video, this version was the latest one. You might have got a different version, which is okay. One thing that I would like to emphasize here is this scripts section. So if you notice, if I go here and press Control C and terminate the job, and I also go here and delete this, and then I say npm run dev, it should give me an error. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that it's easier for you to see. And to zoom in and zoom out in Visual Code, you need to press Control plus. Okay, so here it's saying that there's a missing script dev and npm is unable to launch our website or our app, which basically represents is that, I'm gonna copy paste this again, is that whenever we say npm run dev, it basically goes to package.json file, looks for a script tag, and inside it looks for dev, and then it basically runs this command. All right, I'm gonna run that command again so that our app is up and running. Next, we're gonna move on to package lock.json file. This file is somewhat important, but maybe not so much important as of now. But what it basically does is it creates an a hash map basically. So it creates the integrity hash map for all the packages that you download here, so that tomorrow if you send this package.json or this whole project to someone, they can install all the dependencies with the correct packages. So it's that it is about that. So if someone goes and wants to change this package to some malicious package that could potentially hurt your app, in that case package lock.json file is going to complain that, hey, this was not included initially, and the hash map is not matching, therefore there's something wrong. All right, anyway, moving to next.config.js. We will talk about this file later when we go through a project, therefore we're not going to talk about it now. Same goes for next env, git ignore, and this JSON file. So you can safely ignore them. The important folders that we're going to talk about are .next. So this folder is created for us when every time when we say npm run dev. What npm does under the hood, or next does under the hood for us, is it takes all our code and spit out pure vanilla JavaScript, HTML, and CSS file so that it can host an app like this for us. That is as simple as that. You probably don't have a components folder in your file structure, which is okay. I created this, so don't worry about it. We're going to talk about it later. Node underscore modules is also an important folder. However, you don't have to modify this because node underscore modules contains all the dependencies that we downloaded, and you technically never have to change anything here. Now comes the pages. Pages is one of the most important folder in your project. It contains a folder called API. Again, we're going to talk about it during the live project. And then there are two files, underscore app and index file. We're going to start with index. So if you look at the index file, it contains lot of content which looks like HTML but is not quite HTML. It looks like somewhat JavaScript as well, but it is not JavaScript as well. So it's a mixture of couple of things, and this is what we call JSX. JSX. JSX is basically mixture of HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Under the hood, this JSX is understood by Next and is converted back to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, now since we delete everything, I'm gonna just display something very plain and simple. We're gonna say hello to the world. And if we go back to our localhost 3000, that's what we see indeed. Okay, I think we're gonna stop here. And I'm sorry, before we stop here, I would also like to talk about underscore app. However, before that, let's do some little bit of cleaning. So we don't need this. That's for the typecasting, and we can delete this as well. Still, our app should work the way it is. We're good. Underscore app. So underscore app is a function, or it's a component basically. It's a Next.js or React component that is called when your project is launched to the browser. So underscore app is the root component that is being called and being displayed here, and everything else that you see on your page is basically routed via underscore app, which basically means is that if you have an index file under the hood, the first thing that a component or the first DOM element that will be mounted to this page will be underscore app, and everything else will be within this app. I think with this, we have completed the folder structure. In the next video, we're going to learn about more detailed topics like hooks. We're going to talk about states. We're going to talk about effects and a lot of fun stuff. So stay tuned, and we're going to see you in the next video.
Alright, that's it for this video. Before clicking next, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. You can also put your thoughts and suggestions in the comment section so that we can read them and make new videos for you.